Mr. Erbac's game. Game start. Mr. Erbac's Retro Classic Video Game Review.
Last episode was part 1 of a 2-part Asteroid special. I reviewed the archaic Atari 2600 version of Asteroids. I thought I'd review the 5200 version, but that wasn't released until it was finished for later Atari collections. It was supposed to be a launch title, and was a port of the Atari 400-800 version. Let's fly into the Atari 7800 version of Asteroids. Though the opening screen of Asteroids says 1984, this game actually came out during the summer of 1986.
The original intention was for the Atari 7800 to come out in the fall of 1984. The selling of Atari's home division by Warner to the Trammell family delayed the console because of a money dispute, of course.
And get in your spaceship.
Again, as I review this 7800 port of the arcade classic. Let's look inside the instruction booklet to see if there's a different story to this version of Asteroids. I doubt it. Asteroids plunge at you, trapped in a gigantic cloud of asteroids. Your struggling spaceship hurls towards its doom. You'll have to pulverize all the asteroids with your photon cannon to save your ship and your life. Rubble from an exploding asteroid bounces off your ship's hull. A glowing blur flashes across your viewing screen, so that's where the rubble came from. The asteroid was blasted by an alien robot saucer. Alien robot saucers are also trapped in the asteroid cloud, and they fire at random. You know what the metal in your ship's hull will register on the target finders before the asteroids do. The saucers could be a worse danger than the asteroids. More rubble strikes your ship. Its hull rings like a bell. If you don't get busy, that could be your death knell. Like the Atari 2600 version, you can get started immediately, but you don't have to deal with dip switches. Instead, you can select your options from your controller at the menu. Once again, as with the 2600, this continues the classic arcade way. No matter how good you perform, there's no end. You cannot skate around death. Your only goal is to survive as long as you can to achieve the highest score. Once again, you start out in the middle of the screen, but the asteroids are moving in a different trajectory. They move around more like the arcade version. The realism factor has gone up with the upgraded Atari system. The name of the game is the same. Press the red button on a different controller to shoot these pesky rocks, breaking them down into smaller pieces. The smaller the pieces, the more points you get. Though this game is an upgrade, the options I mentioned are fewer than the 2600 version. There are not 66 versions of this game, though I don't think 66 versions are necessary. Like the 2600 version, if you choose the easiest difficulty, Novice, in this version, there will be no saucers to fight off. There were satellites and UFOs in that version. The other difficulty options are Intermediate, Advanced, and Expert. As far as modes of play, aside from the standard one-player game, you can play a standard two-player game where both players alternate after a death with the second player captaining a blue ship. This game also features 2 additional two-player games. Competition Asteroids, where your ship is vulnerable to the other player's shot, Or Team Asteroids, where your photon shots don't hurt the other player. There are several options not available in this version that were in the 2600 version. Choosing when you get an extra life is not a choice here. You get an extra life when earning 10,000 points. The hyperspace feature is back. But no option to choose the shield or flip mode options. It's unfortunate these options are gone, but you gain 2 extra 2-player games at least. Let's talk about the obviously much improved graphics. While the 2600 version was a blocky rainbow mess, the asteroids here are clearly asteroids with nice colored texture and craters. The nicely lit graphics have stars in the background and allow for a distinct look between asteroids and saucers. The ship is barely more distinct from its predecessor. There's 2 different colored ones now. I feel the graphics are better than the 2600 and arcade games, thanks to the detail and the color. The sound is once again basic, but effective. A little bit better than the 2600 version. The saucer emits sounds that sound straight out of a science fiction movie. That classic Jaws-like theme is there repeating its 2 notes, but I like its simplicity and intensity. The gameplay is a little different in this version of Asteroids. The arcade used buttons only, the 2600 used 1 button and joystick, while here is the Atari 7800 controller. It's a little awkward with the side buttons. Anyways, this Asteroids can use both buttons. Once again, there is no auto fire. Just like before, pulling back on the stick warps you to hyperspace. Watch out! You can be warped back at any time, or the warp could destroy your ship. I recommend finding a controller that plays more like the NES controller. They're out there. Or play it on a good collection where you have a good controller to use. I must also mention, the controller, it's kind of cool looking, but this stick on this, it's a little too stiff. It's not as flexible as the joystick from the 2600 controller.
If you have your old Atari 2600 controller, you can use that if you want, instead of this.
Let's highlight the negatives. Graphics are nice, though a little grainy. Not a big complaint. The scoring options aren't there. That's a small complaint, but we'll put it here. Hyperspace is the only option in this time. The 2600 gave you a shield option or flip mode. Speaking of hyperspace, if you didn't like the unpredictability of the feature, too bad. You're stuck with it. You don't have to use it, though. You can succeed without it. There's no auto fire. That could have helped if you're using an original 7800 controller. No story except for the instruction manual. No ending. Get the highest score until you die once again. Speaking of high scores, it would have been nice to have a high score save integrated into the cartridge. Arm can hurt after too much usage of the 7800 controller. But that can be fixed, of course, with getting another controller. This is a nice version of Asteroids. The graphics are not as sharp as the arcade version, but are so much more detailed and colorful. I would recommend buying a better controller that's available. There are ones shaped like an NES controller. Even though there are less modes in this version than the 2600 version, this is a better game. 2-player mode extends replayability. At the same time, there's not much more here than a classic score until you die game. I'll put this 1 point higher than the 2600 version. A 6.5 out of 10.
Game over. Thank you for watching.